Well, good day, everybody. You're watching Beyond the Test Drive, and we are driving a 2024 Lexus RZ450E. That's a mouthful, like a lot of the cars out there these days. This is a perplexing vehicle. I've been driving it a week. I don't know what to say about it, so I have brought in the big guns. I have brought in expertise via Tyler over at The Average EV, because Tyler's channel, you need to check it out. It's awesome. It's everything EV. It's life with EVs. You can really nerd out over stats and charging, and he's the real deal. He actually has a lot of street cred because he owns EVs. So Tyler, what EVs have you owned? Because it's quite the list.
In, I think, 2021, we bought our first EV, or leased our first EV, which was a Hyundai Kona Electric, 2021 Hyundai Kona Electric. And then after having that for a while, I was able to convince my wife to get an electric car. So we took her and she test drove the Volkswagen ID4 and she loved it. And so at that point, we were an all EV household. And then eventually my Kona had the unfortunate pleasure of meeting with a deer.
Oh,
and
no.
it got totaled. Yeah. And so I temporarily got a Tesla Model S, a 2015, a 70 rear-wheel drive, to be a temporary car because I was waiting for the Volvo EX30. Mm-hmm. And then it seemed as though the Volvo EX30 is never going to come, and it still isn't coming. They've delayed it even more. So then I was like, well, I need to find a different car for the channel that people might be interested in. And then the Equinox was kind of growing in popularity and interest. Mm-hmm. And I liked the way it looked, and it had a lot of promise to be a good car. So I went ahead and got the 2024 Chevy Equinox EV, and I have the 3LT trim, so the fully spec'd out trim.
Tell a little bit about the channel itself. So why did you start The Average EV?
Yeah, great question. So there's a lot of great EV content makers out there, and a lot of them are very focused on all the specs and the aspects, and they don't necessarily consider like teaching it to people and making it more accessible. So, because I am a teacher by day, and so I thought, well, you know what, maybe I can take some of this stuff, make it a little bit easier for people to understand, maybe do some of the hard work that those people don't want to do so they can understand their car. That way, when they use it, they know how to use it to the best ability possible. And generally, I feel like people have been receiving the channel well. And I like to respond. I respond to comments all the time because I really just want to help people. And I like electric cars for the fact that I just think they're better and they're easier to maintain. Whereas when you have an electric car, there's pretty much no maintenance except washer fluid and tires. And even brakes. My oldest brother, he drives EVs too. He's had a Tesla Model S 2013. And the first brake change he did was at 225,000 miles.
Oh, so, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so they're just so much easier to maintain.
And that's why I have you with me today, because this Lexus, I think there's three things about this Lexus that are fascinating to me. Number one, Toyota and Lexus, they are not all in on EVs right now. They have basically said, we're going to do this at our own pace. We're not going to bow to political pressure. And they can do that because they're a monster company. Yeah. They're one of the biggest ones in the whole planet Earth here. The second thing is this RZ, which I've been driving this week. I had zero expectations of this thing. What was this? So we have, how do you like that 308 horsepower there?
It's pretty good.
It's pretty quick. But I had low expectations of this car this week when I got it. And because everything you hear about this thing is, oh, the range is horrible, the range is horrible. And so I've been fascinated by how much I've enjoyed driving it. And then at the end of the day, I go, that still doesn't have any range. And then the third thing about this car is just the quality that they put into it. So obviously, the political thing that Toyota's doing, how good they did at this car as far as making it a good car, and then the fact that they kind of said, this car is not for you. This is for our Lexus loyalty owners who want to try out an EV. They're going to come in, they're going to lease it, they're going to get a great price on it, and it's for them. So all the rest of the world can just kiss off when it comes to the range. So I didn't really feel qualified to talk a lot about things like range, like what is acceptable and what not, what's not acceptable. I do want to ask you a little bit about, as we tool along here, as far as the U.S. industry, like I feel like Ford is misstepped a little bit. They came out, they were all in on the Mustang, they were all in on the Lightning, and I think they're starting to hear them back off. GM, on the other hand, seems to have the strategy that's working because they have a very broad product line. So what's your take on just U.S. manufacturers right now and where they're going?
So I think Ford, they did that. They have a product that the people who buy them love them. Mustang Mach-E owners love their cars. Mm-hmm. Ford F-150 Lightning owners love their cars, and they're great cars. And I think Ford really wanted to go hard into electric, and their dealers didn't want to do it, and they had to back off of that whole model where they were forcing their dealers to put in electric charging. And so anyways, I think that they kind of made a little bit of a mistake because they had a good product and they weren't reading, I guess, the room well. Adoption for electric vehicles is still low, but it is increasing. And then as far as like GM is concerned, they had the Bolt. Well, let's go all the way back. They had the Volt, which people loved, or at least the people who had the Volt. And then they came out with the Spark EV, which people like that too. And it was kind of a peppy small car. They expanded that a little bit into the Bolt, which became like the perfect commuter car. Yeah. And then they had some like battery issues where they had to like take a lot of the bolts back and put in new batteries or fix the software. And so they were kind of dealing with those perceptions to the point. I mean, there's a garage somewhere in Baltimore where you can't even bring a Bolt because they're
like, I don't want it.
You're not allowed.
I'm not going to burn my garage down.
Yeah. And so they're still battling with that. So then they came out, I think it was the 2022 and 2023 model year of the Bolt and the Bolt EUV, and those were super popular, really affordable. People were getting the tax credit, and those were selling well. And like Bolts were holding their value really well, even as a lot of other manufacturers' cars in the used market were dropping, like the Volkswagen. So anyways, then of course, what did they do is they discontinue the Bolt, which was really popular and selling well. But that was because they had the plan with Ultium, which is their new architecture that they can implement into any car. They can make it smaller. So that was a great plan. And then they were having issues as far as like the manufacturing of the batteries, which held it up longer. And that's why when you look at a lot of the sales numbers for Chevy, or honestly, even just electric vehicles in general, they were lower because they literally weren't making cars. There's a point where I was like, does Chevy even make EVs anymore? Yeah. But they finally got that together. They got the Lyriq out. They got the Blazer out, which had a software issue, naturally, and that caused some issues. And the inventory of Blazer were like piling up because people were, they hear about the software issue and they don't want to buy the car.
GM seems to feel comfortable enough to just kind of steady as she goes. And they do have some compelling products like your Equinox.
Yeah. And even the Silverado EV is great. So I think they're finally in a good place. And I think we're going to see the sales go up.
And their batteries are all in-house. So meaning they're all, they own the battery. They're doing their own thing when it comes to batteries, and they're all U.S. built. So I think that's I think they're all U.S. built.
Yeah, I'm not sure because their cars are built everywhere. Like the Equinox is built in Mexico.
Right.
But
was it eligible for the tax credit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Anything in North America.
Over to some like infrastructure. So I think everybody's had nightmares with the infrastructure, specifically if you're going to road trip something. And I know you are just all over the place, and you are the number one person to speak about the state of infrastructure right now.
Well, as far as like infrastructure is concerned, it really just depends where you are. There's like a bunch of huge issues on the West Coast right now because there's such a big push to get EVs out there.
Yeah, I have my nightmare scenario out in the LA region trying to get non-Teslas charged up out there.
Yeah.
So it was either a long wait or the thing didn't work. So, one time I had to get back to the airport. I was probably about 60 miles away, and I knew, so I got up at 3 a.m. to find a charger. I think it was an Electrify America charger. I pull in, it's like 20 chargers there. There was like all but 5 were full at 3 a.m. So I did get one that worked, and I charged it up enough to get me back to the airport. By the time I left around 4, there was a line 10 cars deep.
Yeah, so especially out there, like take LA for example, the majority of people who have EVs in LA can't home charge, or it's really hard to. Although I think there actually is the right to charge in California, okay, where like if you ask your land, like they have to let you put in charging.
Okay.
But like a lot of people don't have it because for some it can be cost prohibitive. So then what do? They have to charge out in the public, and then that's when you get all those really long lines of charging. Whereas like here, well, especially where we live, like there is a growing number of EV owners out here, but it's not as many. And like I run into very few major issues that are actually a big deal for me because I can charge at home.
And you road trip. You road trip all your EVs, and seems like you have decent luck.
Yeah, and I think there is a huge focus, I think, on public charging infrastructure, but the reality is, as a for me as an EV owner, I do 95% of my charging at home. Obviously, on a road trip, it can be really annoying, where you have to like wait a little bit longer. But like we just went down to Florida, and we had pretty much no issues. We went to Smith Mountain Lake and pretty much had no issues. So generally on the East Coast, like you absolutely can have issues, but we haven't seen that many. But I think that the charge point operators have to put a focus on reliable charging hardware so it always works. That way people don't have to. And then they need to properly measure the throughput for a max scenario where if it is like, it's Labor Day weekend, a lot of people are going to be traveling. Can it handle that? And sometimes it can't. And that's, I would bet if you look on Labor Day, you'll see a bunch of completely full chargers.
Yeah. So one more question for you. Give me your thoughts on this car. What is the right range? Because, like I said, for people, are we so range conscious now that we're killing the industry? This car, I think even though the range stinks in this, I think for most owners, if they charge it up at night, they're going to be fine.
It's a really good question because there's this obsession, I think, in the US for having really big range and really fast charging. And so I just think, I don't know if the technology will ever be to a point within, 5 to 10 years, maybe even a little bit longer, where we're going to get what people actually want. And there's also there's a point where like it just becomes really expensive to get what people want. Because there are cars that kind of do it, like the Lucid Air can go 500 miles or a little under, but it's also like, $90,000, $100,000. So the average person can't get that. So
there's some interesting math on like smaller battery, quicker charging versus monstrous batteries that take forever to get back.
For example, the original Hyundai Ioniq, it's like a 24 kilowatt hour battery, went like 110, 120 miles, but you could recharge from 10 to 80 in 23 minutes. So it's a small battery, it charges really fast for a small battery. And I think that was like a really good sweet spot for like a commuter car. Like you don't need, a big battery and big range. But then I feel like the majority of Americans want to be able to drive longer distances. So I think, and I've actually put out some stuff about this. In my opinion, if charging infrastructure works and it's bountiful, whereas it's like every 50 miles or so, like 250 to 300 miles is like the sweet spot at 70 miles an hour.
Because you're going to be able to charge it quickly.
You can charge it quickly. And like, I don't like being in the car for more than 2 hours.
Yeah. You want to stretch your legs.
So if I can build in my rest time to get out and something for people who don't drive electric cars is worth like maybe, you know, looking into is I don't feel as tired driving an electric car as I do a gas car. So I would say 250, 300 miles in a car that can charge in about 20 minutes, 10 to 80. I think that's the sweet spot, and those already exist.
So this is 355 volt system. It's not even a 400. I don't know what the magic is between 400 and 300 and 800 volt systems. But this is like 355 volts is what this is running at.
That's pretty normal for a 400 volt car.
Okay, so you would call this a 400 volt, even though it's a little shy.
Parts of it look great. I really like the wheels, actually. I keep looking at them with that kind of the gunmetal-y look.
Yeah. The copper crest obviously sets it off. I don't think they have this color.
Yeah, especially from the side. Yeah. But if we're to compare all the ones built on the Tinga platform, I think this one looks the least offensive. Yeah. Well, okay, so that's a good point. The Toyota, I call it the Busy Forks. The Busy Forks, yeah.
And the Sotera, very underwhelming product. I mean, I haven't seen too many people that I've talked to in the industry like those at all. So when I heard this was on that platform, that's why my expectations were a little low. But Lexus just kind of revamped it completely.
Yeah, the biggest thing with the other two cars is basically Toyota got out of Subaru was the all-wheel drive system.
Right.
And which from what I hear is actually pretty good.
Yeah, Direct 4 is what they call it. But yeah, so the charge thing is around here.
Yep, charge port. We were talking about this early. They added for this model year these little ridges so you know where to push.
Yeah.
It's there, and you can open it up.
Yeah.
And then you got your normal CCS.
And then your fast DC.
And I do like this flap. I'm going to be honest. It is nice. And then does it have a light? I can't tell if it has a light.
It has a light. I know there is no light there. Now it will glow at night when I got it plugged up. This little Lexus thing. Will light up at night to say that it's charging, and that Lexus light will go out when it's fully charged.
Okay.
So that's kind of neat. Yeah, I think I saw people kind of pressing up here and going, boy, this is really cheesy.
Yeah.
But no, it's
gotta push low.
I like the size of this. For me, this would be the size car that I would like to drive around in because it's not humongous. And but average storage back here. And you know, a Lexus, they you know, for a Lexus, you have to do that, which is a little disappointing, but...
Yeah, and of course, I'm so tall that this other one won't go down. Oh, my bag's on the way.
Yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't go completely flat. Or maybe it does. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's pretty flat.
Because you said the volume was 40?
I think 40. We'll put the numbers up there. Seats are comfortable. There's lots of leg room. So now my legs are... So not a lot of support here.
Yeah, and I think the floor, I noticed that too when I got it. The floor is really high on this car.
Direct 4, there it is.
Direct 4. And I will say, I'm not a big fan of this styling. And I guess the only reason is to like keep the rear window clean. I don't know. I just wish they had put this all the way across, added a rear wiper.
Starting route guidance.
Recharge. Cool, so they didn't add it. Great.
So it doesn't tell you anything about charging?
0.2 miles. Turn right.
So I guess they don't expect their drivers to go anywhere.
No. Well, again, because they offer the exchange, you know, if you want a road trip, come bring this in. We'll give you a
That's true.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, why would people?
Yeah. So I think that's what cracks me up about this car a little bit is like everybody's like, oh, the range is horrible. Like Lexus didn't know this, you know, like people are telling them something they didn't know.
The reality is if you really want a Lexus with range, you could get the 300E, the RZ, because that just came out this year.
The RZ300. Yeah, the two-wheel drive.
It's just front-wheel drive and
it's average acceleration. It advertises 50 hours to charge it on a level 1.
Yeah.
I've been able to take it from 80 to 100 in about 12 hours.
Yeah. And
of basically trickle charging it up to 100. So I think that's pretty safe on the battery just to keep feeding it up to 100 slowly like that.
Charging limit, yeah. I would have it set to 80. DC. So this is silly.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to charge fast.
Yeah. So why would you limit
I don't know. Now, sometimes people want to take more time somewhere. and not maybe get people who are charging annoyed that they fully charge and they're not back to their car. So maybe you would change it. I don't.
That's an extreme use case.
I don't know
for a car that's not intended to even be out at public chargers.
I just don't understand this. And then, but the thing is, I don't think that battery. Why would you turn your battery cooling off?
Maybe for range?
If you wanted to damage,
if it's cool enough,
if you want to damage it, maybe. So I think that's just why they hit it, so no one would change it.
Yeah.
Because you have to go. I mean, you have to find it first, which I've already forgotten how to get there. So as far as EV stuff, I think it's kind of strange. I do think this is really weird compared to other cars.
Well, it's not. It's half baked, right? They haven't put a lot of. Again, they're like, hey, you're just going to get in and push the pedal.
Now, what is nice, it is a really nice heads-up display.
It is nice.
It's super clear. Is this park assist? Will it park for you?
It will. I have not tried it, but it's I've seen it hit or miss on different people trying it. So
yeah, my general experience with auto parking is never good. It's always like I could have done it at least 30 seconds faster.
Yeah.
And been, so I haven't even tried on my Equinox. I haven't even tried it fully because I did it once.
Though?
It's supposed to, but it was taking such a tight, it was like cutting really close to the car. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to do this.
All right.
So, all right, let me make sure I'm all ready to go.
All right. Now, the passenger seat is pretty comfy. But I don't have lumbar on the passenger seat, which is a little disappointing. And then there's only two-way lumbar on that. So in and out. There's no up or down. So for $68,000.
Yeah, and no massaging?
Yeah, you want some massaging. Oh, and my other nit is I really like how this fabric looks, but I want leather in my $68,000 car.
Yeah.
This is a little sticky to me.
Yeah, it's almost, this is like Alcantara.
It's intended to be like a suede-ish. I do like it here. I like it here, and I don't like sitting in it, though. I feel like I'm sitting on my sofa at home.
Yeah, the steering wheel.
That's not leather. That's like a fake leather.
And it's almost too slick. That'll be interesting to see when I drive how it feels.
Yeah, that feels like you're like seal skin or something like that.
I agree with
baby seals or something.
Maybe a little higher crop. I mean, my Tesla had this like Alcantara thing, and for me, like, it bothers me when there's like stuff. So I have to rub it to fix it.
Yeah. Well, if you're a Lexus owner, you're gonna get your detailer to smooth out your Alcantara.
All right. Oh gosh.
All right, Tyler.
All right. Where is the drive? Oh, it's down here. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're off to a great start. How do I turn it off? Is it off?
You should be in auto now.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're in auto, you're good.
Okay.
Push that down and rotate it. So
there we go. Okay, that's different.
So we're like a little bit like Ford there with their little rotating dial.
Yeah. I feel like I'm honking at the cars around me.
Yeah. Well, it's like your little delivery truck.
Yeah, definitely like the heads-up display. I'm honestly, this is gonna be kind of harsh, but I can't believe Lexus let this driver's display go. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, it's the basic Toyota. It's right out of their hybrids. That's the main screen you're going to get on one of their hybrids.
There's this whole giant display area. It takes up, like, I don't know, half of it. But is it, you get in and so you have to press the button, or is it you push the pedal?
You have to do both.
Okay, so
push the brake, now if you don't hit the brake, it'll bring it up in accessory mode.
Okay.
Which is kind of nice.
Stop sign showing up, that's nice.
Yeah. So I wasn't a big fan of that HUD or these things in the other Lexus I've been in, but this week I've used it enough now that I kind of get it. Oh, regen. I should have mentioned regen on this. You have not full one pedal driving, but I set it to its highest value.
Yeah.
And
I actually didn't think it was on.
Okay.
That's how light I thought it was.
So now it reset every time you, so keep pushing it until it goes to max.
Yep. And then you got them all.
Now you're on max regen. And it's not one pedal driving. So does your Equinox one pedal drive?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll one pedal drive to a complete stop.
Yeah, this won't do that. So it's a reasonable, this is annoying.
Now
it's a reasonable amount of, I like it. Because when I drive like a Polestar, I will set it at the medium setting.
Okay.
And then that's the other thing that ticked me off with Tesla this year. No adjustment. You're one pedal only. and they don't even let you adjust it back to no pedal, you know.
Yeah, I like having the ability to adjust it.
Yeah.
When I had my Kona, it had paddles.
So there's no difference in performance between Eco and normal. It's just the air conditioning system. But so what do we got? So 105 in Eco, but put it back to normal where we're gonna 99. So I dropped 6 miles just by like wanting to use all the AC. And then I have Sport.
Okay.
There is a, let me go back here. Car, I think it's all-wheel drive. It's called all-wheel drive. Here we go. As you can see,
Yeah.
if you goose it a little bit, you'll. It's a little front bias there. I saw that I get let off the back wheels a little faster.
Yeah,
but you can see just cruising along, it's trying to drive all four at the same time.
Yeah, when you took a turn pretty hard once, and I definitely felt a little bit more in the front.
I find it handles pretty well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's very solid, grounded.
Yeah.
Here, let me do a little bit more.
Yeah.
Spice and driving to feel it.
Feel the.
It eats everything up.
Yeah.
For sure. All the little imperfections. Yeah, I am desiring a better feeling steering wheel.
Yeah. It's again at this price point. I want
nice leather
I
steering
want
wheel.
leather.
Yeah.
You know, sorry cows, but I need you.
I'm not hating the regen. I think it's respectable.
Yeah.
And I think that like most people who aren't EV drivers will not feel uncomfortable using this.
Mm-hmm.
On my Equinox, it's like just the normal mode's really heavy.
Yeah.
And especially on Teslas too, it's because you can't adjust it. It's super heavy.
It's super heavy, and I would always back it off to that medium setting, and that option's gone now.
For me, I would probably prefer like a little bit more like rear bias as far as like with the all-wheel drive system.
Okay.
Just because I like it. Because my Equinox is front-wheel drive, ID4 is rear-wheel drive. Mm-hmm. I like the ID4 better.
Other thing I wanted to ask you about is China. What are they doing different? I mean, we know what they're doing different, right? They're heavily subsidized.
Exactly.
Their labor's cheap.
Yep.
What's the answer to them? Because I think if you started selling Geely and BYD in the United States, I don't think the U.S. consumer is going to go to those dealerships. I just don't. But the younger crowd, your generation, when they see the prices without the tariffs, they go, oh, this is what I've been waiting for. Out of patriotism, would we buy them, or not? And that's the question. But eventually, the United States citizens usually vote with their pocketbooks.
Yeah, I was going to completely agree. I think price is a big driving factor. And if people see cars that are really cheap and they charge fast and they have the range people want, they're just going to get that car. There's absolutely going to be people who don't want to because of the political reasons. And I've had a lot of people on my channel, like when I was looking into getting the EX30, because that's China built.
Yeah.
That they said they would absolutely not get that car because it's built in China. So I know that sentiment absolutely exists, but if it's a cheaper car, people are going to buy it.
Yeah.
And China's already in the U.S. With BYD builds buses in China, in the U.S.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to slowly, and I think they already have, they're in Mexico and they'll get into Canada, and then they're going to start selling them in the U.S.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how much the politics plays into it as to whether people buy them or not. But I think if you're looking at, say, the Chevy Equinox, which is built in Mexico, and it's $35,000, and maybe BYD or Zeekr or one of those other companies comes in and they have the same product but it's $10,000 cheaper.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, China has told the world exactly what they're up to. They want to dominate the electric car industry to the point of putting everybody else out of business. So when you have that kind of rhetoric, you have to be, at least for me, you have to be cautious. So interesting. We're not going to solve this today, of course.
Yeah.
But Europe now is even putting the brakes, I've noticed.
Yeah, and I think a little bit with the China thing, because of how fast they're advancing, and like they can get a car from paper to road in like 18 months. It is forcing manufacturers to accelerate how fast they develop cars,
Right.
sometimes to a fault, where like you've got cars that are coming out not fully baked, or with minor issues. Chevy is actually a great example of it, where I don't think the cars were completely ready to be released because they hadn't completely tweaked all the charging and stuff like that, where I have inconsistent charging. And I don't know if that's because they feel the pressure that they have to get the cars out faster now and develop them faster than ever. And I think that may have also caused, like Ford, we talked about earlier, was like, we're going to do this and this and this and have all these products. And now they're pretty much canceled everything.
Well, Tyler, thank you so much for helping me understand the EV industry a little better, and definitely with having this RZ as a backdrop. If you want to check out the average EV. You're going to enjoy everything over on the channel. Again, thank you for joining us today, especially to all of my subscribers. And as always, have a great day, morning or evening, wherever you may be.